In 2016, at the Summer Olympics in Rio, Simone Biles struck the country with not only her gymnastics, but her short stature as well. Multiple articles were released about Biles stating, "Talent comes in all different shapes and sizes," but scientists themselves have always been left with an underlying question. Does gymnastics stunt the growth of its athletes? I was in gymnastics for several years and competed for 4 years, so I experienced this on a very small scale and began to research at a young age what it was like for Olympic gymnasts. I know that many of you may know nothing about gymnastics, but we all know the toll that athletics or even manual labor puts on our bodies. This is important to college students because we all need to know how to keep our bodies healthy no matter what we put them through. So today I would like to provide you with information about the rigorous training gymnasts endure, how this affects gymnasts, and how gymnasts' lives are affected even after their career. So to start off, let's talk about what it's like to train as an Olympic gymnast. In an interview with Natalie Jarvie from Hollywood Reporter, Simone Biles was asked how often she trains, with which she replied, 32 hours per week. Gymnastics, MSN Sports says, is the 6th most demanding sport in the world. Many elite gymnasts can even spend up to 40 hours per week training for their sport. The amount of hours a gymnast trains affects the way they are constantly landing on their joints and the way they grow. Just to put this into perspective, I want to watch a few seconds of this short video. So as you can see, the height that Biles is accumulating in this tumbling pass and how she's landing on her joints very harshly affects the pressure put on her spine, which is why scientists think that these landings can affect gymnast growth. So now that we've learned how or what it's like to train as a gymnast, let's examine how this affects a gymnast's body. In a study conducted by the Journal of Pediatrics, scientists took 83 active gymnasts, 42 retired gymnasts, and 142 healthy control subjects to see what growth looked like between the groups. The Journal of Pediatrics concluded that in the cross-sectional data, active gymnasts had delayed bone growth, reduced sitting height and standing height, as well as leg length. It was concluded that in all gymnasts, short stature was present. In another study conducted by the Journal of Pediatrics, it showed that 20% of 13-year-old gymnasts had not yet been through menstruation, compared to the 95% of average 13-year-olds who had already started menstruation. These gymnasts were at risk for exercise-induced amenorrhea, which is a state where the body stops menstruating due to low body weight and hormones released during exercise. So now that we have discussed what it's like to train as an Olympic gymnast and how this affects the body, let's examine what happens to a gymnast's body after their career. So now many of these studies may seem startling. There's evidence to suggest that after a gymnast's career, they no longer experience delayed bone growth. In this same study conducted by the Journal of Pediatrics, it showed that once retired in their late teens or early 20s, most gymnasts experienced what's called a catch-up period. It showed that in the gymnasts that had been retired for just 2 years or less, the deficit in sitting height was confined to just leg length, which means there had been progress made on the body. In the same study, after 8 years of retirement, it concluded that adults who had been retired had no deficit in sitting height, leg length, or menstrual dysfunction, virtually no effects of stunted growth after 8 years. As a gymnast myself, I never thought that my training would interfere with my growth, but as soon as I quit gymnastics, I realized a significant change in my own body. I was always aware that gymnastics stunted the growth of Olympic athletes, but I didn't think that my puny little 3-hour practice 3 times a week would affect me in any way. As soon as I quit gymnastics, I noticed, as well as other people noticed, that I had grown. After I retired, I was just 14 years old and grew 2 inches in just 1 summer. This just goes to show that even gymnasts on a much smaller scale are putting their bodies in a physically intensive training schedule. Bones, joints, metabolism, and other parts of the body are changed by this physically demanding sport. As a result of the many hours Olympic gymnasts spend in the gym, their bodies are put through very physically intensive training. So today I provide you with information about the rigorous training gymnasts endure, how this affects their bodies, and what life is like even after their career for a gymnast. So next time you wonder why gymnasts like Simone Biles remain at the height of a 6th grader at just 4'8", think about the reflection it shows from the training they have spent in the gym. And I know that some of you may know nothing about gymnastics, but it's important to be mindful of how to keep all of our bodies healthy no matter the training that we put them through. Thank you.